This week, AI boyfriends are becoming women's ultimate listeners and apparently leaving human partners in the dust. We examine the world of virtual romance, including a Silly Tavern, where AI personas come to life in group chats. Is it the return of 90s AOL chat rooms? Or it's the future of friendships? Speaking of friendships, we meet Landman, my AI performance coach, who pushes me to crush my goals and break down mental barriers. Is it time for your own pep-talking AI buddy? And speaking of Landman, data is becoming the new oil as we explore the high-stakes race for AI supremacy. What is the secret sauce and who's cooking it? Join us as we step into a sci-fi reality with wearable tech and augmented humans. Are you ready to become part of the Cyberpunk revolution? Or are you just another augmented office drone? It's just another day on...
They might be self-aware.
I saw an article in the news today that more and more women are having AI boyfriends because apparently they are better listeners than us.
I'm shocked.
But that I guess historically we primarily have heard about the men engaging with the AI to create the romantic partner. But apparently
Movies coming out about that since like the 80s for sure. Yeah.
Now all sexes have engaged in the virtual romance department, each crafting their own unique thing. Do you ever have conversations?
I'm not having an affair with a robot hunter. No.
I think you just need to come out and admit it. I was trying to dance around the subject a little bit.
My mother listens to this. I'm not dating a robot, Mom.
Okay. Well, we'll let that be, your hypothesis. But do you have conversations? The question is, do you have conversations with AI? And I don't just mean like use advanced voice mode to ask it a question, but it's like more friendly conversations. Yeah. Oh, like I just want to chat about something. Do you ever chat with the AI versus a real human? Have you crossed that line yet?
No, I haven't, but I almost tried. And I want to tell you what I mean by that. I
can imagine.
There's a front end, like a user interface, a program available called Silly Tavern that I've heard of.
Yeah.
And it looks a little kind of arcane to set up. Like there's a lot of specific stuff in there. And I've never really given it any time to actually sit down and like try it. But the idea is not only can you like craft a persona and the world that it's in and like its backstory for like characters in this thing, you can also do that for multiple characters and then set up like a chat room where they're in it and also you are. It's not one-on-one. It's like you and 3 others and they're talking with each other and then you can chime in every now and then. I really like the idea of that because it isn't just me chatting with some one entity for no particular reason. Like, is it that I'm trying to chase the dragon of the 90s AOL chat rooms kind of thing? Maybe it's that. Or I also think of it in terms of like a business use case of what if I had not just my AI programmer buddy with me, but I had a PM that I could talk to and it has the agents, the tools to be able to make tickets for me on like, Monday or Jira or whatever. And then I had a UI UX designer specific one that like takes in the requirements and makes the components. And then I have the front end one, and I have the back end one. And like we were talking in our last episode about people possibly all just being middle managers in the future, which if you describe it that way does sound super bleak, but I like to think of it as empowering. If we do go in that direction, I think that you don't want to have a chat with one AI. You want to be talking to a bunch of them at the same time. So no, I haven't just like, this one is Bob and I gave it a memory and I'm going to chat with Bob once a week and see how he's doing. This is, I want to have Bob and Sally and Jorge and so on, all in a room together that are all part of this group. And it could be a friendly group or it could be a work group or whatever. That's kind of what I would want. Are you talking to AI, Hunter? Do you have your AI pal?
Is the AI talking to you right now? Are you hearing voices in your head?
Right. Answer me, or tell me something only Hunter would know.
The closest that I get to having real conversations with the AI as if it was a human is I have an AI performance coach, which I've created. It's a custom GPT defined.
Okay.
That's all I mean.
So on ChatGPT, you can make what they call GPTs, which is to say it's a bunch of like system prompts, and it's evolved since then, but it's effectively priming the pump of ChatGPT to act in a certain way.
Right. You tell it, what is the
persona?
Yeah, the persona or the philosophy of the person you're speaking with, to how do you want them to talk, and you can give them access to any third-party materials that you want. For example, if there's a book you really like, you can literally upload that book and say, "Hey, you're the author of this book. Now I'm going to tell you my problems. Please, apply the lessons of this book back to me." And it works surprisingly well. But so I have you can call it a performance coach that I've defined, and it has evolved over the years. There's been multiple versions of it. I've got I recently made a new one, and I will, it's not super regular, probably once a month, I will go to the performance coach and talk about things that I'm struggling with, trying to figure out, like, how do I break through these sort of things. I'm a big mindset person. Like, I need to be like in the right mind space to do things. And I find a lot of times when I'm struggling, when I'm not accomplishing my goals, it's more of a mental thing than it is like, oh, you don't have the physical ability or you don't have the intellectual capability. It's just like there's some sort of little block there.
You need to talk to someone who helps kind of align you to.
Yeah, it works for me. I understand some view it as kind of hocus pocusy, but whatever, it works for me. It gets results. So
the placebo effect is a real thing too. I
also like, and again, not for everyone, but I like the kind of, hard ass performance coach. Like, we're going to go out there. We're going to take a stand. We're going to rip a hole in the universe and make something happen today. That sort of, yeah. I've been to Tony Robbins events where you walk on fire after chanting yes for 4 hours in a row. And then they make you,
really psyching you up to then go back and fill out your TPS reports.
It does it for me, again, to each his own.
Everyone has an approach that will work for them.
But I have this performance coach, and I will have long conversations with it.
What's his name?
So it was Gus. It was Gus in the beginning. The name has evolved. The current name, which I don't think it makes sense from a performance, is just called Landman, is because I was watching an episode of Landman when I made the new version of it. So I want to call it Landman, but there's that name is of no significance other than I was watching an episode of Landman, the Billy Bob Thornton show about oil. When I was again, completely unrelated, but motivated to make the newest version. I'll try to give you a tiny taste of it. It can literally be anything, but do you have give me a sample question? And
this is a question to fire me up about wanting to do work or something?
No, just something that, or I don't know, you're worried about AI is going to take all over the jobs, or you're worried everyone's going to become middle managers and life won't be.
Sure. Let's ask Landman. What I'm supposed to do when my hiring pipeline got disrupted because my CEO, says we're going to hire less people because of AI. What does the AI have to say about the jobs that it's helping take away? And I'm having distress because I want there to be more people to get more work done, even if less people could and can get more work done with the AI. I also want there to be more people.
All right, so I've prompted it. What am I supposed to do when my hiring pipeline is disrupted because the CEO has cut the budget for my department by half and told me I still need to get the same or more work done, and then I should use AI to make it happen? So that is the beginning of the conversation.
All right.
And it starts responding, here we are. You've been handed a perfect storm. Budget cuts, increased expectations, and a vague directive to figure it out. By the way, something CEOs love to say. Let's pause for a moment and notice how you're interpreting this situation. What's your first reaction? Frustration, resentment, overwhelm, or maybe the simmering question, why me? This situation, disruptive as it is, carries questions hidden inside. Who are you going to be in the face of constraint? Let's strip this down. And then talks about your reality, your reaction, and the language of supposed to. And says, challenges the assumptions. Start here. What's really at stake? Kind of going to the end here. Let's be blunt. If you sit in victim mode, if you grumble about what's unfair, or if you freeze waiting for permission, this moment could be the start of your professional stagnation. But if you embrace it as a chance to lead boldly through discomfort, through ambiguity, this could be your defining moment. So I'll ask you this. What's the bigger picture here? What kind of leader do you want to be remembered as when you're under fire? Choose now, not tomorrow. Now. What's your next move?
I feel like I'm walking across those coals right there with you. So as you're reading this, it makes me think like, yes, this is the performance coach. I'm especially worried, as I think probably everyone should be right now, about jobs and the loss or lack of new jobs. I know from firsthand experience, having seen people applying to jobs that I've posted, people are using AI to gussy up their resumes or lie on the resumes or fill out, applications, which good. The application process is broken sort of in general for people. It's just absolutely terrible right now. Good for them for speeding it up. But for people who are looking for jobs, I wonder if a job coach, like your own personal recruiter, is one of these really valid use cases for AI, because it can't just be bigwigs with the top hats and the monocles saying, well, it looks like we'll get an extra billion from the people that we're not hiring this year. It needs to also be the average person saying, these tools exist. I'm going to use them to benefit me. It has to go both ways. It doesn't have to. Some people, I think, are very much lamenting it doesn't seem to by default be doing that. But that's because the average person needs to embrace these tools more. You were talking a whole bunch of episodes ago about it was X% of people, like a small percent, I think it was a UK-based study, actually use AI on a day-to-day basis.
It's like 3%.
It should be way more than that, and not necessarily to do your job, but rather to better yourself. Is it that you're going to use it as someone to talk to and kind of work through like coaching type problems? Is it a psychologist type stuff where maybe you can't afford that particular type of mental health care? At least you've got someone that you can talk to. I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea. We have talked about some negative outcomes of that kind of approach before, but it doesn't have to be. And then out beyond that, what if everybody who's having trouble getting a job was using it to apply to more jobs, to apply more effectively, to take the transcript of the call that they were just on and didn't get the job for, and then give them help on what they could say for the next one? Like, we can all be benefiting from these kinds of tools.
Yeah. And I see it
that power from you
to some degree as a form of rubber ducky debugging your life. You're familiar with this? I guess if other people aren't, there's a concept. You see it in programming the most, but there's no reason anyone couldn't use it. And the idea is that when you have a problem, you have a little rubber ducky on your desk, but honestly, it could be anything. And you take a moment to explain your problem to the rubber ducky. And by saying it all out loud and going through it in a logical manner, you inevitably have some insights into what you might do, et cetera. So this is my kind of like AI rubber ducky debug, where I'll go in and be like, all right, here's all the things I'm thinking about. I'm kind of lost here. Then it's going to come through and it ends with some questions. And I'll take those questions. I'll use I use Super Whisper to dig into to transcribe my voice notes back, where I'll just try to like riff on these ideas. So what did it end with? Maybe I lost it. It was like something like what are the actions you're going to take now, and how do you want to be remembered, and what are the opportunities? So then I said, maybe
right on your gravestone.
Maybe I could try to present an alternate point of view where we could get better business outcomes through this, or if we're going to go down this path. Maybe there's an opportunity to, make the work more engaging for the people that are left by leveraging these AI tools and stuff like that. Maybe we could try to document this into a blog series that could go out, and I'll just sort of like riff on that. And then it's going to, give me some more things. But it's mean, it's not really fixing things. It's just sort of poking you and prodding you so that you can explore your own stuff, which I guess is kind of what a life coach, performance coach, therapist does. And there's no reason you can't also do it on your own.
And so I was describing having a whole team of people that are like in a chat room together, but it could be individuals. Here's my life coach. Here's my therapist. Here's my yes man. Here's the little devil on my shoulder. Oh, yeah. Have you seen the movie? Did we talk about Inside Out already?
We did.
Okay, great. Well, I came back to that idea, and I very much like here's a whole bunch of little personalities, because you mentioned using Super Whisper. So Whisper is a speech-to-text thing made available via the fine folks at OpenAI. And yeah, if you can just transcribe your life as it's going on, or eventually have it recording your screen or taking pictures and seeing like, oh, this is what's going on. Why not have that life coach with you all the time? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe it doesn't need to be with you all the time, but I do like the idea of we need to be embracing these as entities in our lives, which I think is kind of the thesis statement you were getting at there.
At a minimum, that there's an incredible opportunity to embrace them. There was an article recently that was gaining some traction, talking about how AI will augment our life in 5 years' time. It was said in 2030. When the first time I read it, I was like, oh, so 10 years from now. And I was like, no, you idiot. Like, that's only 5 years from now. I realized I must be like stuck in 2020. I don't know if COVID did that to me. But no, it's like, geez, 2030 is only 5 years from now. Wow. But one of the main things was you're going to have this assistant with you at all times, whether it's through the glasses that you're wearing or an earpiece.
It's the movie Her.
It is the movie Her. One of the ideas that they had in there, and I guess this is a little bit of a tangent, was that it will likely be you'll be able to prompt it by mouthing words without vocalizing them. Because as you know, there's things for the people who have issues with their vocals where they talk like this, they hold it up to their throat and say,
yes.
But I'm going down like another tangent. Did you have that person who like came to you in school like to talk about like don't smoke cigarettes, and they stuck the voice box? And
everyone
they
has to go to the assembly hall.
Yes, yeah.
Which is the gym.
I wonder if that's just like the same guy that like tours all the schools, or like we have so many of these people. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing as the high end like speakers for business. It's just you're making the elementary school.
That guy is like multi-millionaire, made a career of talking with his voice box and having the hole in his throat. Don't smoke cigarettes.
Hey, he's got a good point. Don't. But right, so you're talking about AI tools that are going to listen to like sub-vocalizations. I saw some stuff from the Consumer Electronics CES. What's that stand for? Show?
Consumer Electronics Show.
There we go. I was like, Expo. No, that's not NES. Could have asked Claude. I'm sure it could have told me. So, like, there were a couple of gadgets from that said, like, it's earbuds that will listen to, like, micro movements in your mandibular tendons. I don't know. Something in your head to know what you would be saying. And it's like that sub-vocalization. And it's also listening to what's going on behind you or around you. I do think this is also, as you've said, like, the worst it'll ever be. There is going to be this basically integrated into our bodies. I don't think it's Neuralink, like actual spikes into our heads or whatever. But I do think via wearable technology, we're going to, in a fairly few number of years, not a long time from now, have something that's almost basically part of us. We're getting into that real cyberpunk future.
I do think we get to Neuralink. I just don't think we get there in 5 years. But the value prop of I can think of anything and get the answer back in my head, I think it's compelling enough that a large percentage of people will take the plunge. That you can cheat at life, basically. You can run around as whoever you want to be, because the AI will just puppet you more or less, and you can be that person.
When does it stop being you asking the Neuralink, and then one day it turns out it's got more than 50% control over what you're doing?
Yeah. But 5 years from now, the idea that most of our peers are always wearing some sort of device that is constantly augmenting them, because they're already doing it to some degree. If they got their computer screen up in a meeting, like, that's exactly what they're doing. They're clicking on things, looking on things. Now they're
more integrated.
Yeah, it's more seamless. I mean, you talked about having that whole team of people where you got your life coach and your therapist and your doctor and your researcher and your lawyer. I imagine that'll all come too. It'll be an agentic approach where you have your orchestrator that listens to the question and routes it to the best person, or perhaps multiple people, blends it back together to give you the information.
What was the name you said? It was Landfill or something like that?
Landman.
So you have Landman,
Yeah.
your AI that's with you, and Landman has a whole team of experts that he's talking to.
Experts all the way down.
Yep. It's agents. Yeah, and
why not?
One of them at the very bottom is still using Google. Poor thing. So we're describing this productivity gain, whether it be for companies or for individuals. And I think that is, it's something that can be for everybody, which means companies aren't going to be happy about it because that doesn't give them some sort of moat. It's nothing defensible to them. If everybody has this 10x programmer ability, if everyone has this thing that could make them, 5 times as good as an HR person, whatever, then you don't have anything that makes you different from any other person or company that has those kind of things. Is it everything becomes as a service, like software as a service being very popular in the tech industry? Is it everything as a service at that point? And then people are just these service providers, which I guess that's what you hire people to do, is give you goods or services, right? So does that evolve over time? Or and this is an article from years ago now, but I loved the title of it, and I very much agree with it. It's Data is the New Oil. I think companies, much more than individuals, are going to say, we realize there is no differentiator. And frankly, there never really has been when it comes to tech. You can hire good programmers, and then those programmers are around as good as the other programmers, and anyone can make a website and a widget that does the whatever. There's nothing inherently nobody could do it about that. It's just we're realizing more and more that is the case. And AI, I think, is exacerbating the issue to the point where you have to say, the only reason why people would bother signing up for my company to do the business that my company does, if it's a service instead of a good, is you have to have data that nobody else has that helps power your thing.
Right. The data is becoming the moat, or
the moat, or the oil, or the unobtained, whatever thing.
It's the differentiating factor, because we all have the same algorithms to build the same models from the same data.
Right. But do construction workers have the same 2x4s and bricks and cement and so on. The problem is not a new one. It's always existed. It's just the companies, I think, are starting to get a little more worried that AI is making it faster for other people to say, well, that company has a feature we don't have. I guess we can put that on our Q2 2026, roadmap. Instead, we'll have it by next week. And that's probably what has them running scared, is not just the gains that they can make on their own backlogs. It's that nothing they make can stay only theirs for very long anymore.
I saw a new company that was buying up YouTubers' unused footage. So their proposition was, hey, you probably have a whole bunch of B-roll that you filmed, or maybe even full episode segments that never made it to air. We will pay you, depending on the content and depending on how it was captured. Is it on the latest Red camera, or did you capture it on your iPhone? Between $2 and $4 per minute of video that you can provide us, because this video has never made it to the internet. So conceptually, it's proprietary information.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I see. That makes sense.
So
that
again,
training data that they could either train their own thing on or sell to other companies, because that data is the oil, is the moat, is the thing that it has the economic viability moving forward.
And once we are wearing these devices around, the closest we have today in mainstream is probably the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which I have a pair. And by the way, they're very clear that they are training on the data that you're sending through those glasses. Now, you aren't always, it's not a constant stream. So you engage, you tell it, take a video, take a picture, tell me what's going on in this, or you can live stream. And so in those moments, it is collecting the data as training data. the rest of the time is not. But when we're talking about devices,
definitely not.
Sure.
That's a big wink for those of you listening.
Zuckerberg has never run afoul of any regulations or laws. It's
nor
always
has Apple, nor has Android. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Completely
Apple did have the lawsuit recently where Siri was recording you, and they were keeping those recordings, and there was also suggestions that it was impacting advertising, although they insist that was not the case. But but the collection of this data will become it already is tremendously important. It's so important that we see companies like almost brazenly breaking the law in taking copywritten material. Often, like they're downloading like the most illegal torrents of things that I may have downloaded when I was like in high school or middle school. You know, the giant every book that was ever made and every magazine, and then training from.
There's a specific data set. It's called Books 3.7. Something I don't remember the actual name of it, but it's like this well-known data set that definitely has copywritten material in it that probably all of the AI makers have used.
Well, it's not. There's a lawsuit going on right now with Meta, and there's been in the discovery phase. They literally uncovered emails where they're just discussing that exact, what do we want to call it, data set. And because they needed Mark to give his sign off that it was okay that they trained the model on this torrent that they downloaded.
That's what it was called. Yeah.
So like we know what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think we've kind of discussed this before, but the large players here see enough economic opportunity to when they are either a or the leader in this industry that it's absolutely worth the regulatory slaps on the wrist. And we're going to find you an entire $1 million. Oh no, smack. They'll just keep doing the training on illegal works, not the works themselves not being illegal. The training part is the illegal part because like it's literally worth it to them. It's just the cost of business.
Well, it's also this like wonderful catch-22. So the European Union is currently investigating all of these models that have been trained on copywritten material because their constituents are upset, rightfully so, by the way. But the end result of this, if we look historically how this plays out, is they're going to ban these models. They're going to say no model that was trained on copywritten material may be used in the European Union or the UK. And you know what? That's going to put them at a huge disadvantage. Like, you can't do that. Like the cat is out of the bag.
Well, you can do that.
You can, but it's just a horrible decision. Like we have to just accept that we shouldn't have done this, but now that we have done it, hey, it's pretty great, isn't it?
This is, I think this is a very large moral problem that we have. To make a somewhat grotesque reference here, there is a debate that has happened when it came to like Nazi doctors in World War II doing despicable things to people, truly horrendous things, but like pressed forward medical knowledge via the stuff. And so the question there was, do we basically throw out that information and the knowledge and do not act on that? Or do we say that sure did suck, but well, we might as well use the medical knowledge that came out of it? The same kind of thing without obviously making any actual direct comparison between the plight of the people killed during that time, or frankly ever, and an AI being used trained on illegal material, but rather still the concept of a thing is happening and has happened that should not have happened and was illegal to do so, and depending on who you are is varying amounts of bad to do. But now to not act on that information that has been gleaned from it would put you at a severe disadvantage in the modern day. I don't know what the correct side of that is. I very much disagree with the training on illegal data. We are seeing more well after the fact. This movie company is now working with Runway because, look, they trained on it anyways. We might as well get our share of it. Okay, the New York Times is going to make an agreement with this company. Oh, this large publisher is going to make an agreement with that company. It's putting some band-aids on way after the fact that the actual damage has been dealt. But as you said, there's no putting the cat back in the bag.
No.
And if you try to act without a cat or a bag, then you are in a catless, bagless life, and you don't have the same benefits as the cat and bag people do.
And the other part of this is because these companies have open sourced so much of this. And by open source, I mean you can download it and run it. Not necessarily that you have access to the code, but like they can't just tell a company you need to shut down. Go ahead, shut down the company. The model and the text living on. There is no taking it back unless we,
You're not going to scrub Llama 3.3 from the internet. You could take down the Hugging Face links.
You could take down the internet.
Sure, take down the entire internet.
Yeah.
And people are going to have zip drives that they're, handing
Sneakernet,
in the woods at the middle of night, like, hey, I've got a copy of a large language model. You want it? Yeah, the cat's completely out of the bag. And you and I, as well as the Western world sort of in general, are very concerned, depending on if you're the company doing it or not, with copyright infringement and unethical use of AI. And some other companies and countries do not seem to have the same level of concern. Specifically, China being one of them, where it looks like there is not the same, from what everything we've been seeing, articles-wise, etc., there's not the same level of hubbub being raised by the Chinese about the data being used to make some of the very impressive models coming out of there. And even if there was Western hubbub being raised, what are they going to do about it?
DeepSeek being one of the most recent models that we've discussed previously on the show. That's quite
two extremely
performant,
powerful models.
Where trained on illegal data, they violated terms of services very, very clearly. They just ingested a bunch of stuff from OpenAI. But wasn't the OpenAI stuff also trained on illegal things? It reminds me of I don't know if you're familiar with like the early days of Apple and Microsoft, where they both stole Xerox's technology. By the way, like arguably legally, but Xerox invented the graphical user interface. They invented the mouse. They both go and get demos of this technology. They both also have sort of like insider spies at each other's companies, seeing what they're doing. And inevitably, they both come out with graphical user interfaces and mice and get very upset at each other for ripping each other off when they both just ripped off someone else, At least that's one interpretation. What's the good artists create, great artists steal quote, something like that?
Sure. Yeah.
It's just that again. So we're upset that the DeepSeek stole from the American company, but the American company downloading torrents, training on them.
The Chinese company also would have trained off of that same set of data legally.
Sure.
So, like, what do we do about it? What do you and I, and what does the average person do? Do we say, I'm sticking my flag right here, I'm drawing my line in the sand, I'm not going to use any model that was trained on anything copywritten, I have to have complete transparency down to the training data, and I'm going to go through it myself? Literally not feasible. But you could have, there's independent review process. And I know there are a couple of large language models out there that were trained on, like, we're really sure there's nothing copywritten in this, probably, hopefully, here it is, and here's the training data. We've actually released all of that. They are not nearly at the same scale or capability as those biggest, bestest models. But, like, there are going to be those opportunities for something where you have a little bit more of a, cleaner record. And this is not even talking about those who are opposed to it for the energy problems or the loss of jobs problems or any of the other ones. But at least the training data was legally sourced.
Or maybe information is meant to be free. And like that's the other path that we could go down as humanity, is coming to that conclusion that information is meant to be free. It's meant to be shared, and that we really shouldn't have proprietary
law.
But you put it out there. Like it should be consumed. It should be remixed. Everything is a remix. That's another trope, but I think it's probably true.
Mm-hmm. But the reason why, and I'm no lawyer here, but as I understand it, the reason why copyright law exists and things like it is to help protect the economic interests of the people who made it for the 30 or 100 or patents.
Yeah,
and so on.
Maybe that needs to change. Maybe that needs to evolve.
Access to that for a while to make sure no one else can make money off of its back without you, signing some sort of like use agreement. Are you positing that, like, look, you get until someone trains the next model using the data, you've got a couple of weeks at best, enjoy your time in the sun? And then after that, all bets
they
are
can't.
off.
They can't reproduce your exact material, but they're able to remix it, leverage it in other things as much as they want. I think that's going to happen. That already has happened.
Yes,
it's happened. It's already done.
It's already happening.
So let's embrace that.
Attempting to stop it or not.
And we can defend that as being good for humanity. And yeah, it's not necessarily good for your individual pocketbook, but we're moving towards basic income.
Sure, yes, UBI. So
UBI, yeah.
Make something that goes out and everyone immediately starts using it, but at least you got a check in the mail.
You'll get yours in the end. At least until it becomes self-aware.
That's fine.
All right, another episode has come to an end. If you enjoyed it, maybe leave a comment, ask us a question. We got our first the other day. Someone commented first. If you're out there, first man, we salute you. You can
more of those in the future. Probably from the same guy.
Maybe even a second.
Maybe. Yeah. Ooh.
Find us wherever you find podcasts. You already found us once if you listen to it as now, so maybe just stick with that. Hit that subscribe button. We'll appear same time a few days from now. Because you have been listening to...
They might be self-aware.